Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, One Book or Novel at a Time. Thank you for viewing, and I will continue reading to you Doll by Miracle Austin, read aloud by myself, Ms. Rosario Osuna, and this is chapters 2, 3, and 4. Be careful what you wish for. Doll by Miracle Austin. And for those of you that are tuning in to begin listening to chapter 2, there is a recording already for chapter 1. And in case you missed that, I recommend that you scroll down my videos and you'll see it there, Doll by Miracle Austin, chapter 1. And in case you don't know what this book is about, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And Doll is a trilogy, and it's a young adult supernatural love story which deals with bullying, friendships, betrayal, heartaches, loyalty, racism, magic, teen dating violence, healthy choices, death, grief, and shapeshifters. And like I mentioned in chapter 1, never judge a book by its cover. This is an amazing read with a twist of voodoo magic. You will love it. A lot of lessons to be learned. And I will continue. Alright, just so you know, Miracle Austin, the author of Doll, gave me permission to do this screencast for every chapter of her book for education purposes. I'm using it for my book club members and other readers that follow me on the YouTube channel, and I will read this every time I begin reading each chapter. Alright, so it says Doll, copyright February 14, 2016 by Miracle Austin. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to actual events or locals is entirely coincidental. This book, both in its entirety and its portions, is the sole property of Miracle Austin, the author. Doll, copyright 2016 by Miracle Austin. Be very careful with books, with material. Anytime we borrow to make an essay, to make copies, there's copyright laws, boys and girls. And that's why I'm reading this, because I have permission from the author, written authorization from her, that she granted me permission to do this. So please be conscious and be careful. We always respect works such as this one, and we don't just go and copy it and put it out on the internet. There's laws to be followed. All right, it says all rights reserved, including the right to reproduce this book or portions thereof in any form. No part of this text may be reproduced, transmitted, downloaded, decompiled, reverse engineered, or stored in or introduced into any information storage and retrieval system in any form or by any means, whether electronic or mechanical, without the express written permission of the author. The same way I communicated with her and got in contact with her, she gave me written permission to do this screencast. The scanning, the uploading and distribution of this book via the internet or via any other means without the permission of the publisher is illegal and punishable by law. Please purchase only authorized electronic editions and do not participate in or encourage electronic piracy of copyrighted materials. This book is licensed for your personal enjoyment only. This book may not be resold or given away to other people. If you would like to share this book with another person, please purchase an additional copy for each recipient. If you're selling this book and did not purchase it, or it was not purchased for your use only, then please return to company from which it was obtained from and purchase your own copy. Thank you for respecting the hard work of this author. Cover art design, Mia Huddle at M Designs. Edited and formatted by E&F Indie Services. Published by Miracle Austin. Published in United States of America. And just so you know, I scanned the pages of this book using Cam Scanner, an app that I downloaded to my phone. With that said, we move forward. Chapter 2. I stepped into my room, decorated in mostly earth tones. My shelves held diverse military souvenirs, mostly fighter jets. I dreamt of pursuing the Air Force ever since I met a recruiter my freshman year in high school. He was a pilot who had been enlisted almost 15 years. I was super interested in pursuing the same path, but my dad's dreams weren't mine. I couldn't even bring the subject up with him. He held an enormous grudge against the military because he lost his younger brother in a freak accident during a military practice. So I kept my dreams to myself for the most part because I already knew where they would end up. I pulled off my t-shirt and replaced it with a black work shirt that had Pizza Beat written in large neon yellow letters. I pulled my hair back to form a ponytail and wrapped it up with a rubber band. I then pulled an orange mesh baseball cap over my head. Before I walked out the door, I saw Dad sitting on the couch watching television. His eyes looked dull. He had just finished a 7-day delivery drive to Oklahoma and Arkansas. Dad mumbled while changing the TV channel with the remote in his left hand, popping a handful of raisins in his mouth with his other. "How was your day at school, Tomie?" "Uneventful as usual." "Have you met with the guidance counselor to firm up your college plans?" "I plan to soon." "Son, don't let it pass you by and you end up with regrets. You need to jump on it. You've received inquiries from 2 Ivy Leagues. Time to start acting like a man. Plus, you're a senior next year." I just stared down at the floor without a reply until I could figure out what to say. "Dad, you're absolutely right. I'll make an appointment with a guidance counselor next week." "That's what I'm talking about, son. I knew you had it in you. Your mama will be so proud of you. Now, if she was still here." He rubbed his face with both his hands and sniffled. "My mom died a few months after I was born. I'll share more about her and all a little later." I knew that was my opportunity, so I flew out of the back door, and before closing it, I yelled out, "Don't want to be late. See you later, Dad." "Okay, son. I'll probably be asleep by the time you get home." I jumped in the driver's seat to head to Pizza Beat, downtown, about 20 minutes from my house. I walked to the back of the kitchen and saw Opal scrubbing some pizza pans down, as large suds fell down her apron. I walked up beside her. She had earbuds in, so I pulled one out. She jumped and almost slipped backwards from some still water on the floor. I caught her arm and prevented her fall in the nick of time. "I'm sorry for startling you." "No, it's okay. I'm pretty clumsy anyways. You should know from earlier." She stared down towards the ground and swiveled her body around 180 degrees. She went straight back to washing dishes with one earbud dangling down the side of her face. I found Sari up front, filling the Parmesan and red pepper shakers. Before I could say hello to her, Pepper screamed out, "Tomie, get up here now!" Some of the eating patrons turned around and looked up at me. "You're late again. You know what that means." She rolled her tongue across her perfect snow-white teeth while tapping her purple palms against the cement floor. I lowered my head and, if I'd a tail, then I promised it wouldn't be tucked between my long legs. "Yeah, I know, Pepper." My head flopped down like a rag doll missing stuffing. She slithered her way around the front counter in her low-cut tight pizza beat t-shirt. She must have designed it herself because no other t-shirts looked like that one. Her black leather mini skirt was so short that if she had bent over, then you would see all her top and bottom goodies, which I wouldn't have complained about much. I walked over to my station to read the orders and pull out pizza pans and dough packages from the fridge. I pulled the plastic off the dough, rolled the dough out, and placed it in the pan. I opened the sauce tray and scooped a large spoonful of pizza sauce to spread over the dough. Pepper walked over and stood next to me. She smelled of smoke and peppermint. She whispered, "A whole hour gone off your next paycheck, loser. You should be glad that I allow your kind to even work in such a fine establishment. You know, years ago that you couldn't even be in the front area of any restaurant, only in the back, which makes so much sense to me. Maybe I'll have you be my new dishwasher, so you can stay in the back." She laughed. "My granddad is always giving me the best history lessons." She smiled, clicked her heels, picked up a tray of beer pitchers, and pranced back towards the front. A group of football guys were stuffing their mouths with large pepperoni pizza slices and guzzling large mugs of cold soda, probably free again. She delivered beer pitchers to the adult customers and slipped the football guys one as if no one saw. She poured the beer into the empty red plastic pitcher and placed her finger on her glossy lips as if it was a secret. It wouldn't have meant anything, even if the local sheriff had witnessed it, because her dad was friends with just about everyone in Frost, or he owned them in some way or another. I wiped my forehead with the back of my hand before sweat beads dropped into my almost watery eyes. Sari leaned over the counter and tapped 2 glasses to get my attention. "Hey, Tomie, she can't keep doing that to you and talking that way. Just awful. You weren't even 5 minutes late." I just shrugged my shoulders and tossed uncooked pepperoni, sausage bits, bell pepper, onions, and extra cheese on the pizza before popping it in the oven to bake. "Yeah, I know," I said as I looked over my shoulder towards her to make sure Pepper was nowhere near. "What can I do? What can any of us do? Geez, her dad owns this place and about 15 others in the state. I need this job to help save up for college. Maybe if you talk to Mr. Fox and tell him how she treats you and runs this place?" "It wouldn't solve anything. I'm sure she tells him what to do. If I complain, then she would surely fire me in a heartbeat. Plus, I would like to get a better car before college. Mine is getting really close to making that one-way trip to the junkyard cemetery." "Just isn't right," Sari said, shaking her head and filling the last glass bottle up with Parmesan cheese. I looked out on the floor. Pepper was practically sitting in the quarterback's lap, tossing individual pepperoni slices into his lion-sized mouth. Her laugh sounded like a hyena, and my eardrums trembled each time she released the sound. I just couldn't get why a girl as pretty as Pepper had to be so nasty. Once I prepared a few pizzas, I rushed out to the floor to buzz the tables and sweep the floors, usually littered with pepperoni, onions, sausage, crust, and napkins. Sari handled the cash register and the task of taking the pizzas out with a long wooden handle pizza peel to drop in the boxes. I helped her when I wasn't buzzing tables or making pizzas. After all the customers exited the restaurant, Pepper always counted all the tips from the waitresses. She would then give each of us $1 and stuff the rest in her expensive purse. "Tomie, make sure you lock all the locks this time. You forgot to lock the top one the other night." She walked out the front and slammed the door. Bright headlights from a black convertible loaded with football players crammed inside shined through the glass doors. Pepper jumped in the passenger side, and the driver placed the car in reverse before shooting out of the parking lot, leaving a trail of smoke behind. Sari and I sat on the bar stools. We were drenched in sweat. I poured us each a cup of soda as the other workers cleared out. I looked up at the clock, shaped like a large pizza on the wall. It was nearly 9:45 p.m. Pizza Beat closed at 9 p.m. during the week and stayed open until midnight Friday and Saturday nights. "Hey, have you seen Opal much tonight?" Sari asked. "Think she's still in the back washing up the rest of the dishes for the night." Sari swiveled around in the chair and jumped out to walk towards the back of the restaurant, pushing through the swinging doors leading to the kitchen area. I followed. And that's the end of chapter 2. I will begin chapter 3. Opal was wiping down the counters as Sari peeped her head inside. Sari whistled and Opal lifted her head up. Sari waved her to come up front. Opal looked around. "Yeah, you. Come on up and join us before we head out for the night." Opal placed her wet apron on the hook to the left, picked up her bag, and shuffled up to where we were. "Sit down next to me," Sari said. Opal scanned her eyes left and right like a robot. "I usually walk home after work." "You won't need to do that tonight. Tomie is our chauffeur," Sari purred. Opal just stood there, rocking her body back and forth. "It's okay to sit. Pepper's gone for the night and we already locked up the place," I whispered. Sari pulled her ebony hair up with burnt orange highlights up with both hands and twirled it into a loose knot. I never noticed her hair like that before, and I liked it. I glanced back and forth at her a few times while tying straw papers into knots. "Opal, can I ask you a question?" Sari asked. "I guess." Opal shrugged her shoulders and hung her head towards her flat chest as she climbed into the chair next to Sari. "I'm just going to jump it right in. What's up with Pepper's missing eyes and the pic you dropped on the bus?" "Dang, girl, you really don't waste any time," I said. "Nope." Opal remained silent and in the same position. She reminded me of a department store mannequin from those older black and white movies. "Opal," Sari said, tapping her shoulder. Opal continued to stare down at the stained countertop, attempting to wipe the stain away with her arm sleeve. Sari snapped her fingers in front of her, letting off a loud pop. Opal jumped up and then placed her fingers in her mouth. She started biting her nails and rotating the broken nails inside her mouth before spitting them out. "Cool it, Sari!" I yelled. "Hush, Tomie. Listen. Opal, Pepper has done something awful to each of us. We're so understanding your reason behind having her picture. We just want to know. What did she do to you?" "Come on, ease up." Sari rolled her eyes and jumped down from the swivel chair. "I gotta go to the little girl's room." I looked at Opal. "Sari can be a little pushy sometimes. We're just curious about what Pepper did to you and all." Opal didn't say a word. "All right, I'll start. Pepper almost broke me in junior high." "Tomie, you don't have to share anything with me," Opal pleaded. "I know, but I want to. In fact, I think we all should." Opal folded her arms to serve as a pillow and laid her head down on top. She stared up into my green eyes. Before my rose-tinted lips began to tremble with words, Sari walked back and sat down. "Where are we now, you two?" "I'm about to share my story with Opal." "Oh! Your pathetic letter story?" Sari grumbled while rolling her eyes. "Cut it out! Let me start." Surprised Opal doesn't know the story. She might, and if so, then I'll stop. Opal shook her head and looked as if she was craving to hear my story, so I continued. That's the end of chapter 3. I will begin chapter 4. It was a few days before the 8th grade mistletoe dance on campus. I wanted to ask Pepper to be my date. I had a crush on her for a bit now and finally worked up enough courage to ask her out. "Did you really think you had a chance with Pepper Fox?" Sari asked. "Not really, but hey, can't blame me for trying." Sari smacked her lips together and pulled a pizza box down to grab a slice of cheese pizza. A curl of smoke floated up into the air. She twirled a piece of stringy cheese around her finger before popping it into her mouth. Pepper stood in a circle with some of her friends by her desk. Coach Edwards stepped out to receive a phone call from the front office. I walked up to Pepper and tapped her on her shoulder, which was bare due to her oversized sweater draped over her tan skin. My bushy eyebrows danced up and down. "Think I'm going to be sick, Tomie. Come on with my mushy stuff," Sari pleaded as she folded the pizza in half, placed it in her open mouth, and bit off a nice chunk. "I'm the one telling this story, and I think Opal's interested, so please let me finish it." "Continue, Sir Dupree," Sari chewed frantically. Opal's eyes followed mine, and I continued my little tale. So, as I was tapping her shoulder and trying to get my words together, Pepper turned around. Her dazzling turquoise-colored eyes met mine. She yelled out, "What do you want?" All of my words fumbled out without making much sense, and then finally I was able to connect the words to make sense. I pulled out a crumpled envelope from my back jean pocket and handed it to Pepper. My fingers felt like cooked spaghetti. As soon as she jerked it from my hand, Coach Edwards stepped back into the classroom and asked the class if anyone had anything to show and tell because it was Friday and the end of the month. The class remained silent. Pepper quickly tore open my letter as she slid into her seat. I held my hands over my eyes and my knees tapped the top of the desk to the point where someone in front of me told me to knock it off. When Coach Edwards asked the class again, Pepper raised her hand like a flag, waving high in the air. Coach Edwards mentioned her up to the front. Before Pepper presented, Principal Hines knocked on the door and requested Coach Edwards. They talked outside the classroom long enough for Pepper to fulfill her torment. Pepper seized the moment like a natural rock star. She did the very thing that made me want to barf up my greasy cheeseburger and salty curly fries from lunch. She unfolded my letter. I slid further down my seat and pulled my open book over my head. "Tomie, don't tell me she read it out loud to the entire class?" Opal asked. I paused. Yep. My head lowered. She began to read it out loud. "Dear Pepper, I think that you're the prettiest girl at our school. Would you go to the dance with me? Yes or no? Tomie." Pepper laughed afterwards and the entire class followed. My heart just fell and slid down my pants leg onto the cold linoleum floor and broke wide open. I felt hot and had to get out of the classroom, but I was trapped. "Tomie, what happened next?" Opal asked with her eyes glued on me. She tapped her chocolate suede boots on the floor and sputtered out, "Why would I ever think about going out with the likes of your kind, Tomie? Number one, you're super poor. Number two, look at you, a dirty half-breed with kinky hair. You're an abomination. I would never want to be around something like you. Just gross." She then grabbed a red marker off Coach Edwards' desk and held the letter up high in the air to mark a big fat X in the middle of the letter. She crumbled it up in her hands and chucked it hard. It hit me in the face. Everyone laughed out loud. I couldn't say anything. From that day on, Pepper's comments caused me to avoid mirrors and cameras as much as possible. Be careful what you wish for. The Trilogy, Book 1 by Miracle Austin. Read aloud by Rosario Osuna. We've come to the end of chapters 2, 3, and 4. I hope you've enjoyed them. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, One Book or Novel at a Time. Chapter 5 coming soon.